Okay, post-league wrap-up. So, this, I think this list is definitely showing promise. The only thing is obviously, you know, some more consistency could obviously help. So, yeah, I mean, obviously Black-Red Shadow, you know, yeah, so let's think about this. I felt like Blue-Red Asthma Food was a pretty good matchup, as well as Black-Green for the most part. And you know, Blue-Red Delver, I think, too. Although, you know, maybe we could use a little extra help, because sometimes they do just have a lot of burn. But yeah, our only losses were two decks with an obscene amount of burn. And like, yeah, you know, Eidolon of Rhetoric does help us out a bit, but maybe that only takes us so far. So here's a couple takeaways. Like, almost every single one of our matchups has been against decks where we want Path to Exile. I mean, when are we not siding in Path to Exile, right? So you know, actually, after ruminating a bit, and you know, I'm doing this recording actually after I've still done some test games afterwards, and I think I can say right now that it's I'm fairly confident that main deck Path to Exile is definitely better than Thalia. And here's the thing, okay? Truth be told, I don't think Thalia is really pulling its weight as much. I think, honestly, Eidolon limiting players to one spell each turn, for the most part, will do what Thalia is best at, which is preventing people from going nuts with lots of small spells. I think Eidolon of Rhetoric does that, but it has a bigger... It's harder to kill, so I think, you know, at least so far, unless the meta shifts, I think Eidolon is taking care of most of our needs in what this is doing. So honestly, that makes me want Sanctifier and Vec. We played this in the Colossus Hammer deck, but I really like it. And here's another reason why I like Sanctifiers and Vec. Also, after doing some other test games, you know, this didn't come up, I think, in our recorded games, but I did actually realize, or maybe it did actually, yeah. In any case, it may have come up at the end against those Blue-Red Delver. But here's the problem with Rest in Peace. Rest in Peace replaces the leaves the battlefield clause for Flagstones, making it so that we don't actually get to fetch if we have two Flagstones, which is actually a big problem. So definitely Relic of Progenitus, I think, is the safer bet, and arguably it was kind of just have to go out and go back in to make sure my changes saved. So yeah, I really like this, and I'm already fairly confident that this is definitely an improvement over how this deck functions. Sanctifier definitely does help out a lot against red decks, and black for that matter. Also, it has this permanent replacement clause, graveyard exiling effect, which is great against like the new Asmo food decks with those daredevils. And you know, it's just really solid. Yeah, and of course, and also it complements the relics well, because you know, sometimes you want that permanent rest in peace type effect. So now we kind of have that, but we also have the relics, and there's no Nombo with the Flagstones, and honestly, the rest in pieces are good, but I wasn't even 100% clear to me that they were always better, because like against Control, for example, we don't really want to bring in Rest in Peace, because it just transforms their Snapcasters into 2/1 flashes, which is not honestly that bad. You know, whereas Relic at least lets us trade 1-for-1 with Snapcaster, in the sense that we can kind of counter their graveyard exiling effect and then draw a card. Whereas with Rest in Peace, we don't draw cards. So yeah, anyway, long story short, I really like this configuration. Every single card feels live. Every single card feels valuable in basically almost every single deck. This is definitely the type of deck that I feel like the sum is greater than its parts. But the cool thing is, each one of these parts in the deck is actually fairly pretty good on its own. But they combine with each other in ways that I really like. You know, I mean, Thraben Inspector, this has just been a really pet one drop of mine for a while in lots of different decks, and I think it's definitely at its best here. You know, Mortarpod too, and that can get reset by Flickerwhisp, for example. You know, Charming Prince, I mean, you know, it's a pretty decent card to scry to a lot of times, or gain 3 life, but, you know, it also combines well with Thraben Inspector, Stoneforge Mystic, Skyclave Apparition, Stoneforge Mystic, you know, obviously, you know, that's one of the marquee cards. Yeah, Sword of Fire and Ice, obviously, Aven Mindscensor, you know, a lot of times you can just randomly prevent them from searching. Flickerwhisp, I mean, that's obviously, like, been known in taxes. It literally synergizes with just about everything, especially with Aether Vial. Skyclave Apparition, you know, obviously just a solid card, and you know, other cards help support it. You know, Batterskull, obviously you can reset that with Flickerwhisp, which is really nice. Solitude, obviously we know the Solitude combos with Charming Prince and Flickerwhisp, and you know, Kaldra, of course. You know, again, resetting Kaldra can be huge. Anyway, yeah. So I mean, I like the way the deck has been performing. The only problem is that the deck is a little taxing to play, pun intended. It definitely can't. It's harder to jam quick games and get really good results. Like, there's kind of diminishing returns. Like, if you're hearing a little bit of exhaustion in my voice, it's because I've been trying to jam. I've been trying to jam a number of games, but it's just, yeah, it's just not happening. Like, you know, at a certain point, you start making misplays, and you know, you can't really jam games the way you can with mono red. But it can be a nice diversion. I think that honestly counts a lot against it, though. Unfortunately, that the games take way longer a lot of times. It can be a nice diversion, but definitely I would recommend a deck that you can win relatively quickly and get a lot of games in within a short period of time. Better EV, so to speak, both experience-wise and money-wise. Anyway, but this is a very fun deck to play. Make no mistake about that. And and at least where I'm at right now, as of the recording of this video, I definitely recommend these changes that I made after the end of this league. I just don't think Thalia is really at its best, and you know, it's hard to even call this taxes anymore. This is basically like mono white Stoneblade. Actually, you're just gonna call it that. You know, I guess the Aven Mindscensor is kind of taxes. Yeah, I guess it's still Tax Blade. It's mostly just the Aven Mindscensor, you know, holding the tax for it. Anyway, all right. Well, if you like this content, like and subscribe. Hit the bell icon for notifications, and until next time, take care.